All right, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to the July 2021 general meeting. As I just said, if you've not already done so, please sign into the chat, and I see that several of you are doing that. Make sure that you list your name and agency so we can track attendance. And just for something a little bit different, go ahead and drop in what your summer vacation plans are or have been if you've already done something for the summer. Also, we would love it if everybody would turn on your cameras. We prefer to see your bright, shiny faces rather than looking at black squares with your name or your picture on it. And we thank you in advance for doing that. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in because it is 11 o'clock. For today's meeting, we're going to provide you some resources for furniture and youth and young adult services. And we also have a couple of surprises for you today. As always, our hope is that you will get some good information, not only from the speakers, but also from each other. Remember that we would like general meeting to be a time of networking and resource sharing. So if you know of any other agencies that provide similar services, or there are agencies that you have worked with, excuse me, or are currently working with, I encourage you to put that information in the chat so that everybody has access to do that. Also, if you have any experience with resources presented today, we would like to know that as well. So to go ahead and get started, our first speaker and the first surprise for today is the Executive Director of Tarrant County Homeless Coalition, Lauren King, and Lauren has some information she wants to share with you all. Lauren?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for coming to general meeting. Jenny, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I am momming today for sure. Sorry, I'm coming to my car because I've had a sick kid, and the only time the doctor could see us was 10. So here I am. But I'm coming to you regardless. Real life. I know a lot of you can relate to that, trying to figure out how to juggle all the things. So I'm there with you. Okay, so I wanted to come on today and just tell you a little bit about kind of what's happening in our system. I know that the Homeless Coalition has asked all of you all to be all hands on deck for a lot of different things this summer. I noticed whenever you were talking about summer vacation, a lot of you were kind of like, summer what? So hopefully you get some time, but I also understand it's a really busy time for us. So wanted to tell you a little bit about what we've been talking about at the leadership level in case you haven't heard much about it. So right now in our system, we are going through a system reset. And that means actually a number of different things. So one thing to note right now is that homelessness is very low. So in our point in time count, our number was down about 40%. That trend has continued throughout the month. So when we look at the point in time count, that number was down 40%. And as we look at month by month, those numbers are also continuing to be anywhere from 30 to 40% lower than they typically are. So right now we're having a pretty incredible thing happen, I would say. People always ask me why is this happening? I think there are a number of different reasons this is happening. I mean, I think the eviction moratorium did definitely have an impact. We have more homeless prevention money than we've ever had before in our community. The collaboration between nonprofits and government, I'm sure a lot of you have received CARES funding and seen that your programs have expanded and grown because of CARES funding. I think that's actually four. We have seen a lot of housing development as well, right? So Esperanza came in December. So we've had a lot of opportunity that we perhaps didn't expect in 2020. So for some reason, our numbers continue to be low. It's really interesting because around the US generally, communities, I think, would say that homelessness is going up, and we are not seeing that here. So it's a good thing. Like I said, people ask me why. I can't tell you there's a silver bullet. However, I'm a big believer that our community is going to capitalize on it and go and see what we can do and make happen. So that's happening. At the same time, we continue to get a lot of resources into our system. So many of you hopefully are familiar with EHVs, which is our emergency housing vouchers. So these vouchers came out through this recent relief plan. So if you ever hear anybody talk about ARPA, they are talking about the American Relief, ARPA, American Relief Plan Act, I think is what it stands for, questioning myself. You may hear them talk about ARPA. So that was the latest relief act that was passed by the Biden administration. In that act, there is a lot of potential funds for homelessness. We still have CARES, so that was the act that was passed first. Now ARPA has passed, and so as we start to look at our community, we really start to look at how can we use those resources. So I mentioned EHVs. So EHVs are emergency housing vouchers. They come through our local housing authorities. So many of you know we have 3 local housing authorities in our COC. We have Arlington Housing Authority, Tarrant County Housing Assistance Office, and also Fort Worth Housing Solutions. So the 3 of them got a total of 307 emergency housing vouchers. We are using those as a system to either move people on. So if people have been on PSH or Rapid, and we know they don't need case management, we are moving them on to these emergency housing vouchers. The emergency housing vouchers are essentially long-term rental assistance without case management. So you all have worked to identify who would be a good fit for those from your housing program. In addition, shelters and outreach teams have also been working to identify people who are in shelters and who are living on the streets who would be a good candidate for these vouchers as well. So you all have been identifying those people and moving those people onto those vouchers too. So when that happens, one second. So when that happens, in addition to people moving out of shelter and off the streets, they are also moving out of housing programs, right? So let's just assume we have about 50% of people who are moving off of housing programs. That then opens up more housing for people who are literally homeless. So not only is this moving people, are the EHVs moving people off the street, but in addition to creating capacity, also creating capacity in our system. So EHVs are moving people off the street, and also new housing opportunities are opened up because we're moving people on from there. So that's 307 emergency housing vouchers. You can kind of add 150 to that because it'll open up about 150 PSH and rapid spots as well. So you can see how our system is going to start to flow there. I wanted to give you that perspective because I know that we're asking you to do a lot of work. I know that we are asking you to have all hands on deck, adding to the things that you have to do. And so, one, I wanted to say thank you. And two, give you that better context of how the work that you do every day is truly impacting our system and making things move, right? So the goal with this system reset is actually to change how we respond to homelessness. So in the end, we really hope that we are able to, like I said, shift from people having just the available housing resource to the appropriate housing resource. So there's a lot of things that'll go into this, but in addition to the emergency housing vouchers and additional housing that's coming in through ARPA, we're also really looking at, at some point with this, we'll be able to end the chronic rule for PSH. So hopefully, as we know, there are people who need PSH who have not been homeless for a year. So looking at taking chronic rule off of that and then really being able to identify people who need PSH, we know they need long-term case management and long-term housing assistance, and putting them there regardless of their length of time homeless. So really making some pretty significant shifts in our community. The other thing that should do, like I said, is really change how we respond to homelessness. So as we're able to kind of right-size the system with all these different housing opportunities, all these different resources coming into the system, we should see a significant shift. A couple other things to make you aware of. In September, we will have some additional money coming in from the state via MHMR. So you'll see shallow subsidies launch in September, and I'm sure we'll do some training on that. We're working on some system mapping to figure out, how is our system functioning? How are we going to deploy all these resources? And honestly, where are the barriers in our system? So what keeps people from being housed? Whether it's chronic documentation, the housing search process, application process, whatever it might be. What is it that keeps people from being housed quickly? We've been meeting, myself and other partners have been meeting with the newly elected city council and other elected officials. And we had a great question about, why, what would it take to increase homelessness today or tomorrow? And so that's the question, right? How can we quickly speed up that process and getting people into housing? For us, one thing that we're advocating for pretty significantly is housing that's set aside for people exiting homelessness. So not just building affordable housing, but specifically setting that housing aside for people exiting homelessness. You all have told us over and over again, if we have specific units that are set aside for us, it makes it much easier to find housing. So doing some other things, I'm also talking with the county and the state about other investments that could potentially come to our communities for housing development. So both for PSH, for non-chronic, and trying to figure out a way to develop deeply affordable units. So units that are $300 to $400 a month. And we know that people who are either on a fixed income or have a low wage could potentially afford those. So there's lots of opportunity coming. Like I said, I just wanted you to be aware of the system reset and kind of how it would impact. I have high hopes that by the time we get to 2023, which may seem far away, but I feel like 22 will fly by. By the time we get to 2023, we'll see a significant difference in how we respond to homelessness, how quickly we're able to get people out of homelessness, to quickly assess them for what types of housing they need and make sure they're connected to that housing. And then really, honestly, the resources that we have there and what we do. So does anybody have any questions about that or comments about anything that I talked about? It doesn't sound like it, but Jenny and Shannon, I'll let you tell me if there's anything in the chat or.
I'm not seeing anything in the chat, Lauren.
Okay, so in the end, I would invite you or encourage you to let your managers know, let your supervisors know, your agency leadership know, if there are things that the Homeless Coalition can do to help facilitate the housing process. Of course, you're welcome to let our staff know as well. If there are barriers you think we might not know about, please let us know about that, or barriers that you think we may know about and just want to reemphasize. Please let us know those. That's really important. A lot of times we, at the Homeless Coalition, we put systems in place and we think they're working, and then it's not until you guys let us know, like, hey, this is not working exactly the way that you all designed it to or intended it to, X is slowing it down. So please share that information with us. That's really, really useful. And in the end, we can't do it without you, right? So you all are the ones who are housing people. You are all the ones who are helping ending people's homelessness on a daily basis. So we want to do whatever we can to support you all and to make that process as quick as possible. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lauren. And if we find out that there are any questions that come up afterward, we'll direct those to you and work with getting the answers back to the people. So thank you very much. We appreciate that. Just a reminder, please turn off your mics or unless you are actually speaking. I was hearing some background noise and stuff. And I know some of us are working from home and it's hard to avoid that background noise. So if you just keep your mic off unless you're actually talking, it's helpful. Those of you who joined us a little bit late, if you would make sure you sign into the chat, we would appreciate that. Next, our next speaker is Teresa Husky with Tarrant County Furniture Bank. Teresa is the founder and executive director of Tarrant County Furniture Bank. Teresa, are you ready to go?
I am. Thank you, Jenny.
All right.
And thank you all for having me here today. I am the founder of the Tarrant County Furniture Bank, and it's really an honor for me to be able to tell you about how we operate and how we can partner with you. We started more than 8 years ago. The vision started when Tarrant County Homeless Coalition and the City of Fort Worth's Directions Home program offered a homeless conference. It was at University Christian Church, and I attended. And someone on one of the panels talked about how difficult it was to move into her new home because she was still sleeping on the floor in a tent and needed furniture. And that's sort of how the whole idea came about, because of y'all, because of TCHC. And so it's really great to be able to tell you about it today. Some of our philosophy is that we believe that furniture is more than comfort. We believe that furniture can represent a chance for self-sufficiency, higher levels of self-esteem, and long-term stability. We think it provides hope, improves living conditions, helping to elevate personal pride and dignity by offering some normalcy and independence. We work with individuals and families recovering from catastrophic events impacted by chronic poverty and overcoming homelessness. And so we really believe that furniture can change lives. What we do is we really broker, manage, and warehouse donations from the home goods industry and other industries and private citizens. And we take that furniture and get it into the hands of those who are moving out of homelessness into a home of their own. We don't accept some items. We want, remember, we have this dignity equation where we want to make sure that that we're providing some hope along with the furniture. So I'll tell you that we don't accept furniture with stains or tears, holes, missing parts, things that have to be repaired. We accept gently used furniture, very nice new furniture. And what I tell potential donors is that but think about it as if giving a piece of furniture to a family member or a friend. If they would use it and put it in their home, then we can likely use it. So we want to keep the dignity equation in mind. So how it all works is we have designed our program based on the practices of the Houston Furniture Bank and others across the country. There are about 70 registered furniture banks in the United States. Our hope is to build partnerships with local agencies and organizations that work to house the homeless and work with others in need. So agencies become distribution partners, and traditionally they paid a small fee to help defray some of the cost of providing services, but we're waiving that fee this year, primarily because of the pandemic. Partner agencies, after you become a partner, it's a quick application process. It's nothing that takes a long time or complicated. Then partner agencies buy vouchers for $10 each, which in turn are used by their clients. So you would get a referral form that you would fill out and send to us for review. Primarily to make sure we have the furniture available that this individual or family is looking for. And they then come and use the vouchers to select their furniture, and each piece of furniture has a value, a voucher value. Let me see, I'm seeing some of the questions and I'm getting thrown off a little. So the clients can come in after we get the referral form. The clients can come in and pick out their own furniture, which is another part of that dignity thing. And we will schedule a 30-minute to 1 hour private shopping experience where they are assisted by staff members or volunteers to pick out their furniture. So a client may utilize up to 25 or 30 vouchers per appointment for like a single person home. And while we make every effort to ensure that we have essential items available, we do depend on donations. So there are times when we might not have a sectional or a dining room table, but we really focus on essential basic furniture and try to get those donations in. Right now we have a limit on the number of vouchers people can spend. And we also say, one chest of drawers or dresser per every 4 people in a household, because we're not getting a lot of dressers in. So really what a case manager would do is set up the shopping appointment, assist their client in picking out their furniture, and then we go on to delivery. I'll get to delivery in a minute. What I'll tell you is, I told you what we didn't accept. What we do accept is, again, essential basic furniture when we focus on living room, bedroom, and kitchen. And some of the voucher values are, a sofa is 4 vouchers, the equivalent of $40. We have twin, full, and queen size mattresses, foundations, and frames, and they're not used. We don't take used mattresses in our bedding. We have a chest of drawer for 3 vouchers, a 5-piece dining set for 9, and a dresser for 3. So a nightstand is 1.5 vouchers. So you can get a bit of furniture for a value of a voucher. Regarding delivery, we do deliver furniture. We heard from a lot of case managers that delivery was vitally important. We heard horror stories about people trying to shove a sofa in their SUV. So we wanted to make sure that we had delivery opportunities available. When someone comes and picks out their furniture, they are allowed to take the furniture with them that day if they have a truck and someone that can help them lift it and tie downs. Or they can come within a week to collect it. If they can't get it to their new home, we will do a delivery at an additional cost. It's $50 for a 40-mile radius, and that just covers our expenses of truck and movers. And then we have a few rules. I want to be transparent. But we won't deliver above the 2nd floor unless there's a freight elevator, or we won't take a sleeper sofa above the 1st floor. Just things to protect our volunteers and employees. Most of the things you see about us is a mailing address on Hewlin, but our physical location is a 5,000 square foot warehouse off of I-35 and Meacham Boulevard. It's the former Coors Distribution Company, owned by Larry and Karen Anfin. And they're calling it the McMillan Center now, and it's at 2550 McMillan Parkway. So I guess that's all the information you need. Oh, right now we do most of all of our client work by appointment. And we can meet during the day, most evenings, as well as Saturdays. We try to be as flexible as possible, realizing that people are working day jobs, not jobs on the weekends. And we want to be as flexible as possible. So we do it by appointment. And, we've been open, it'll be 2 years next month. And we have, I think, 14 partners now, including MHMR and Presbyterian Night Shelter, Catholic Charities, ACH Child and Family Services. I hate to list things because I always forget some, but we have had the honor of working with a lot of people in Fort Worth, and we look forward to working with y'all, and please call anytime.
Okay, Teresa, thank you. We do have a few questions in the chat. Somebody is asking if you pick up, I'm assuming, donated items anywhere in Tarrant County.
Yes, we will do anywhere in Tarrant County. Also, if you have a client, for example, that's being housed outside of Tarrant County within reason, we'll deliver furniture outside of Tarrant County. This weekend, we have a client that's moving to Carrollton. So we're taking her furniture to Carrollton for her. So we do all of the county. Sorry, that was a long answer to a short question.
That's okay. I'm sure they appreciated the details. Another question is how would someone know if their organization is a partner with Tarrant County Furniture Bank?
We will update our website as soon as our volunteer who does our website is available, but we will have it on the website. Also, most organizations that have a program let their case managers know. Like for MHMR, there's a specific program that is involved in our partnership. I think other agencies have specific programs involved. So you would just need to ask, I guess, your manager if you're a member, and you can also take the information to them and ask them to become a member, because I think, and Jenny, I don't know y'all's funding opportunities, but I think there are some funds that are available for use with furniture and or delivery too. So you can go to your manager and ask to be a part of Tarrant County Furniture Bank or explore that.
Okay. And actually, I believe if it is a person being housed through diversion efforts, there may be some funding that can assist with that. Teresa, what is your website so that I can put it in the chat?
It is www.tarrantcountyfurniturebank.org. Very, very long.
Okay.
I lost all of my creativity when it came to naming.
That happens sometimes. And it's .com, you said?
.org. I'm sorry.
.org. Okay, thank you. Now, I think I may have misheard you. Okay, and I think there was, okay, backing up. Oh, somebody asked about a link for the referral form. Is there a link for the referral form?
No, I don't think so, but I will explore that and see if we can make it happen. I'm sure we can. It's just finding the talent.
Okay, so how do they go about getting the referral forms to send their clients?
They can call 817-732-8451.
732-8451.
8451.
Okay.
Or send an email to info@tarrantcountyfurniturebank.org.
Okay. There's another question here. What kind of payment do you take or have taken for the vouchers?
Okay. Normally we take a check from the agency, and we do electronic vouchers and keep track of everything on a statement of accounts and send out those statements. So traditionally it's been a check, but we can also work through PayPal, and we're looking at putting in another system to be able to take credit cards. But right now it would be PayPal or a check. And then on the delivery, it traditionally the clients pay the delivery, and it is $50, and traditionally it's been paid in cash when they make the appointment. But we also are very flexible with billing. We can bill an agency for delivery and or vouchers. So it's very flexible, again, to meet the needs of the organization.
Okay, all right. And just to kind of review, they need to contact you through the phone number or the email if they have someone who is interested in services. The first step to getting connected with services is for the agency to be a partner with Tarrant County Furniture Bank, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then they need the referral form after that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Client shopping is set up via appointments at this point, and they'll be scheduled, I believe you said 30 minutes to come in with the vouchers, or the vouchers are electronic, but they'll be scheduled a 30-minute shopping appointment.
30
Okay.
minutes to an hour. Some people come in and say, I'll take that, that, and that. And some people come in and say, can I lay down on this sofa and see if it fits? So, you know, we will go up to an hour, and even longer if needed, if we've got the time.
Okay. Is there a way for clients to be able to get services?
No, it can happen pretty quickly. And I think I'm meeting someone tonight that called on last Friday, so it can happen quickly. I think the only wait there might be is for delivery. Normally we ask for 2 weeks, as we deliver every other Saturday right now. And like the person that's coming in tomorrow night, I don't know if I can fit her on Saturday's truck. So, we need to maybe have a wait on the delivery.
Okay. And how long is the process for an agency to become a partner once the paperwork is submitted?
Oh, it's a very quick review. We ask for proof of your nonprofit status and board members. Well, anyway, just a few things we ask for. We review it and make sure that everything's there, and then we go for it. So just a couple of days, really.
Okay. All right. And if you mentioned this and I missed it, I apologize, but how does a client qualify to be able to shop at the Furniture Bank?
You know, we don't have case managers who work for us, and we're not trained in social work. So we really require the case managers to do that. So if you refer someone to us, they're accepted.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. So it you know, it just depends on y'all, the agency's screening process and criteria that the agency has set up.
So you assume that the agency has done whatever screening process is necessary. So if the client is referred, as far as you're okay, there is no qualifying at that point.
Absolutely, that's right. Some agencies that we work with require the client to look at 3 different places to try to get furniture from 3 different places before they'll give them vouchers. So they have to put down, you know, we went to Mission Arlington, we went wherever. And then if they can't get furniture elsewhere, then they'll use the vouchers. So different criteria set up for different agencies.
Okay. Okay. But that's within the agency, not with you.
Right.
Okay. Are there any questions from anybody in the meeting for Teresa? Now is your chance. You can either type them in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask it directly. I think I caught all the questions in the chat.
What are the Furniture Bank's hours? I may have missed it.
Hi, we work by appointment only. We did have a student working for us on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but that stint has ended and going back to school now. So right now we're doing everything by appointment.
But she did say that they do stuff in the evenings and on Saturday, try to be as flexible as they can to meet the client's needs.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
If y'all want to come and
I have a
visit.
quick question. I'm with the HEB school district.
Uh-huh.
I'm a social worker with the McKinney-Vento homeless program. So can a school district be a partner agency? The district won't pay if we have to pay the $100 to be a partner agency, but how can school districts that work with homeless families work with the agency?
You can be a partner. And right now we're waiving the $100 fee, annual fee. So now would be a good time to get in.
Okay.
And then on the vouchers, what we've had some agencies do is they purchase the vouchers with available funds. Some of them have their clients repay them the funds, and some do not. So there's different ways you can set it up.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Well, if there are any other questions, put them in the chat. And as long as Teresa's on the call, she can respond in the chat, or we will get them to her and make sure that we get the answers back to you. Thank you, Teresa. We appreciate the information.
Thank you.
Now, you're welcome. Now we're moving on to our next speaker, who may be known to some of you. She is a youth outreach case manager with City Square. Her name is Tara Gordon. Tara is going to share some information with us about Fort Worth Track and some of the resources that she has fleshed out for youth and young adults. Tara, are you ready?
Yes, thank y'all so much for having me today. So you know, as Jenny said, my name is Tara Gordon. I'm a youth outreach case manager with City Square Track. So today I'm going to talk about really three things in relation to youth. So one is, what is City Square Track? What do we do? Number two is our outreach efforts in Tarrant County. And then three, just general best practices for working with youth in our community. So Track is actually a division of City Square. City Square is a much bigger nonprofit in Dallas. Track specifically is a transition resource action center, and we specialize in working with youth that have aged out of the foster care system. The age range for the foster care youth that we work with are 17.5 to 21. However, we also have a bunch of other services, and we can work with youth that are 17.5 all the way up to 25 years old. Track is contracted through the state. So we cover all of Region 3 of Texas, which includes 19 counties. So our agency covers all the surrounding counties of DFW. And we have two primary office locations. One is our main office in Dallas, and then we have our office here in Fort Worth. So what are some of the services we provide? We have the 2 drop-in centers, and at both of those drop-in centers, we provide food, clothing, hygiene items. We can get mail for youth. We let them use the phones. We have computers, and we always have staff on site to assist them with whatever they need. We have various forms of case management, whether that is aftercare case management for those youth that are aging out of the foster care system. We have housing case managers, and we have outreach case managers. We also have workforce advocates that are partnered through the Texas Workforce. We also have life skills training and PAL coordinators on site. We have outreach case managers that work primarily with what we call community youth, so they can be homeless or imminent risk of becoming homeless. And then we also offer crisis intervention. Okay, so narrowing down more specifically to our outreach efforts in Tarrant County. In 2019 alone, City Square realized that more than half of our youth that were coming to us had previous experience being homeless. So that was a big red flag. And in 2020, they created this outreach position for Tarrant County to serve homeless youth or youth that were imminent risk of becoming homeless. So what do I do for outreach? So I do a couple things, and I will say that my outreach role looks a little different than other outreach workers because of the population we work with. So first and foremost, every youth that we meet, we do a pre-screen with. And that's probably the most important thing we do because it lets us know what services that youth is eligible for. And then like all the rest of the outreach teams, I go through and make sure that all the assessments are done for the continuum of care to make sure they are eligible through a housing match. And then I also talk to the youth about the different types of housing that exist for youth, and I'll touch more on that shortly. And then after that, it's really connecting them to youth-specific resources in our community. I do bi-weekly outreach at True Worth Place. I'm there usually from like 9 a.m. to 12:30, and I meet with any youth between the ages of 18 to 24 years old that needs housing assistance or just general referrals for youth service providers. Truthfully, the best way to get a youth in front of me is probably to refer them to True Worth Place if at all possible, just because it's guaranteed they're going to get FaceTime with me and I can assist them on site and connect them with a lot of resources that are already in that area. So general best practices working with youth. I think it's really important to remember, you know, legally, anyone that's older than 18 is an adult, which is terrifying because I know when I was 18, I was the farthest thing from an adult. But we have to think about how HUD classifies a youth, and that's anyone under 25. And that's really important because that means that, you know, HUD is channeling all the money for our services. And so that means there are services and resources available for youth up until they're 25 that we should be taking advantage of. And I never want a youth to go through our system being eligible for all these services and funding that, you know, because we don't know they exist, we don't connect them to them. So I think that's really important. With that being said, I think that's why the pre-screen is probably the most important thing we do. And the reason I emphasize the pre-screen is just because we include questions on there that are youth specific that maybe we don't ask adults. So a good example of that is we ask every youth, do you have a history of foster care experience? Were you ever in the foster care system? Was it in another state? Were you in the foster care system in the state of Texas? Did you age out of care? The reason we ask those questions is if they age out of care in the state of Texas, they might be eligible for aftercare case management services or even funding that they get just for being in the foster care system and aging out. Secondly, there are housing vouchers right now in our community available for youth that were in care. So asking questions like that just makes all these options open for youth that maybe we're not used to asking because we primarily work with adults. Another really big question that I ask is we ask every youth if they are a domestic violence survivor. And this is really important because if I am trying to connect a youth to a DV specific shelter, a lot of the DV shelters, they handle more interpersonal violence and not familial violence. So most of our youth coming out of care or just younger people in general, if they are a domestic violence survivor, most times it's at the hands of a family member and not an intimate partner. So that distinction is very important. And again, you might not run into that as much if you're only working with adults. So moving on to assessments. This is something that we can all help with. And it's just, if you are referring youth to us or any other specific youth program, we all can enter in these assessments. So the big thing is please make sure when we're doing these VI SPDATs, we need to make sure they're marked as youth, because a couple times, you know, the youth might be in the system as 19, but when we go to fill out the VI SPDAT, we have them in there as an adult. And that means they're not getting the priority they need for housing. And odds are that youth will sit on the housing list for a very long time, waiting for someone to catch that in the system. And that's the case, we have to go back and fix that VI SPDAT and get them matched. So if you are gonna refer youth to us or any other youth service providers, please just double check those assessments. Let's make sure that youth is in the system correctly so we can get them as high up on the housing list as possible. Next is critical documents. I know, you know, this gets beaten into all of us for all of our clients, but youth especially, man, those critical documents just, it's where they just get up and run away. So as soon as you meet with them, please try to get those copies and put them in the system. Luckily, youth service providers are actually pretty accommodating to critical documents. If they don't have the physical copies, they will accept a copy. So if it's already in the system and we've captured it, if our youth lose that, we can still use it even for things like housing vouchers. That's a pretty big grace that a lot of service providers give us with working with youth. But if we're not capturing those critical documents from the get-go, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. The other big thing for youth is housing options, right? So I used to work with homeless adults in the past, and pretty much you try to get them in the system and you kind of wait for a housing match, or you maybe try diversion. With youth, there are a ton of different housing options that we have that maybe we don't utilize or because we don't know about them. So when I meet with the youth as part of that pre-screen, I'm really determining what is their level of independence, right? How ready is this youth to take on a lease? Because a lot of youth aren't ready to necessarily move into a rapid rehousing program and take a lease on into their name and manage utilities and things like that. So there are tons of different housing options. So we have youth that prefer to be in like a boarding home setting. We have youth that want to be in transitional living programs, right, which are great. That's a more supportive style program where they will pay the rent, they'll pay the utilities, and really teach the youth how to transition into adulthood and help them with employment, transportation, things like that. So it's a more supportive style housing program. And then obviously there are rapid rehousing options that our youth could get matched for. And then there are things like housing vouchers that are available to our youth. So I will say that housing options for youth are much more diverse than for adults. And it really takes that time to sit down and get to know the youth and try to determine what is their level of independence and, you know, are they ready to handle a lease in their name? And that's the big distinction that we have to make. The final piece of working with youth is I try to build the biggest safety net for every youth. I want them working with every youth service provider or every program they qualify for, because at some point, every client we're working with is going to stumble. And I want that step backwards to be 1 or 2 instead of 5 steps backwards. And the bigger the team I can build underneath them, you know, they're not going to fall back as far. And I want them to be successful. So there are other fantastic youth service teams out there. So, you know, we utilize like the Underground all the time. You know, that's a really good youth resource for youth under the age of 23 to go there for a night if they're in crisis. So just networking with those youth service providers and knowing the ones that are out there, you know, it makes our lives a lot easier in connecting these youth. And then finally, I will just say, just whenever you're working with the youth, and this is what I have to remind myself, you know, they are experts at pushing buttons. I will be the first to admit that. And I have to remind myself that, what was I like when I was 18 or 19? And then amplify that and imagine you at 18, 19, 20 and being homeless and not having a support system and not having someone that you can go call to help you or just, you know, get advice. And so you might be the only face that they are talking to with hope that day. And so I think if we could just show them a little grace and try to walk them through the system and connect them to people that are familiar with youth specific options, I think would make a huge difference for our continuum. So connecting youth to, how do you connect them to us and our services? So truthfully, right now, I get a lot of emails and calls, and I can't handle the full capacity of all the youth in the system. So truthfully, the best way to get a hold of us is to call our main office number, which I can put in the chat. We have a youth crisis case manager that will answer, and whoever meets a youth for the first time, they're going to already capture that pre-screen, and eventually it will get sent to us, and I will help take over that. But until we actually get that pre-screen from a youth, there's not too much we can do, because that gives us all the information as far as their eligibility. So if you're working with a youth and they say that they've talked to me, it's really about have they completed that pre-screen. That is like our ticket to services. Like I said, we do have 2 offices. We have our Dallas office, which is on Live Oak, and then our office in Fort Worth is actually off of Alta Mesa. And so, yeah, I would say the best way to get a hold of us is if you want to send a youth to us directly. I'm at True Worth Place, like I said, bi-weekly. They can come in person and they'll get some wraparound services there, or they can call the main office number, which I will put in the chat now, and get connected to us. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
All right. Well, thank you, Tara. That was a lot of information. Are there questions from, excuse me, are there questions from the group for Tara about youth services? Or any of the information that she has shared today? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, Tara. She has put the main phone number for City Square in the chat. So if you have questions or if you have youth that you think might be appropriate, call them and get that set up. Okay. So how many of y'all read the question in the newsletter, the training newsletter that went out about general meeting for today? Shake of head, show of hands. Not seeing anything. Okay, well, we have put some questions in there for y'all to consider. But we're going to carry that over to next month's meeting just because of time's sake. Because there are some questions that are going to be thought-provoking and are also going to need some time for responses and for us to kind of discuss and all. And like I said, we're out of time for that today. So next we are going on to announcements, and I have a few from Tarrant County Homeless Coalition. First, there are a couple of events and dates that we want to be sure you all are aware of, so you can go ahead and put them on your calendars so you can plan accordingly. The first one is the annual awards and appreciation luncheon that is scheduled for Friday, December 10th at 11:30 a.m. I do not have any other information about that at this time, so I don't know if it will be virtual or in person, but we will continue to let you know about that. And the second one is the Homeless Memorial that will be held on Tuesday, December 21st at 9 in the morning. And again, more details will come out about that as time approaches, but we wanted you to be able to go ahead and put those on your calendar so that you can be planning accordingly. We know December is a crazy month with the holidays and everything. Next, our Director of Planning, Ms. Alex Dunn, asked that I remind you about the emergency housing vouchers. And I know Lauren talked about these quite a bit while she was talking at the beginning of the meeting. But Alex is asking that the agencies need to finish the Housing Authority applications as the emergency housing vouchers are being filled first come, first serve. Shelters and outreach teams need to begin preparing for backfilling the permanent supportive housing that will be open because of the emergency housing vouchers. So emergency housing vouchers are getting people housed. It's going to get people off of PSH, which means there's going to be openings in that program. So just a reminder to follow through with the processes on that. And then Rachel Emerson, our outreach coordinator, asked me to let you know that Tarrant County Public Health Department is going to be providing hepatitis A vaccines specifically for unsheltered people experiencing homelessness. The reason is because there's been a significant uptick in Hep A cases in Dallas County within the unsheltered homeless and substance using populations. So Tarrant County Public Health will be administering the vaccine to people experiencing homelessness with a focus on the unsheltered population. I don't know if that means that they will exclude those who are in shelter, but they're specifically going to be offering this for unsheltered. The date is still to be determined, but within the next few weeks. The Public Health Department will be going to the camps or scheduling it in areas around camps. And she just wanted me to share a little information with you all about hepatitis A if you're not aware. It is a liver infection that is associated with poor hygiene and sanitation. It can occur when bathroom access is poor and food is shared, such as in camps and on the street. It can make people experiencing homelessness at increased risk of infection. It's rarely fatal, but can be miserable and can last for weeks or months. The best way to prevent it is through vaccination and good hygiene practices. So that's why they are doing this. There will be more information distributed in the next few weeks as they solidify the logistics. And Rachel said that you can email her if you have questions. Shannon, could you drop her email in the chat for me, please? Okay, so as soon as Shannon gets through with that, she has an announcement to make for everybody.
All right. Hey, everybody. So I just wanted to let everybody know that with a lot of consideration and thought and feedback from partners, TCHC, we will begin charging a nominal fee of $5 for staff who no show at trainings provided by our agency. This is tentatively scheduled to start next month. We will let you guys know when it's official, but we're making this shift because we consistently have a large number of folks who register for trainings and they don't attend and they don't let us know, which takes, limited space from somebody else who could attend. So what's going to happen is we will invoice your agencies for trainings at the end of each month for those who registered and did not attend. Now, this doesn't include those who gave us a notice that they weren't going to be attending. So if you show up, you don't have to worry about it. We plan to help you guys kind of stay on top of the trainings that you registered for by sending you, confirmation emails and reminder emails. So once you register, you'll get a confirmation email, which I think everybody already knows. And then a week before the training, we will send you a reminder email. And then the morning of the training, we will also send you another reminder email. We've also included a downloadable training calendar for the month in the training newsletter. So you can download that and you can keep up with all the trainings that are coming up for the month. If you don't have access to our newsletter, please let me know, email me, whatever, and we can definitely get you added to that newsletter. But thank you.
All right, thank you, Shannon. Kimberly Doty posted in the chat that TCHC has hired an employment specialist, Mercedes Tejada, and I saw her on earlier. I don't know if she's still on, but the chat says, we want to help you help your clients with their employment needs. So this is a new program, so email Mercedes and let her know what missing pieces of employment we can assist you with. And she put Mercedes' email in the chat also. Okay, are there any announcements or program updates that any of you have that you would like to share with the group this morning? Marie, I see your note. We'll make sure that we get you added to the newsletter. Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing anything come into the chat about announcements or program updates, so we'll assume that there is nothing there. So one more thing before we go, and this is the second surprise. Woo! We know that you all work very hard and we want to show you some appreciation for that. So we're having a drawing for $10 worth of gift cards. And the way you get in this drawing is by signing into the chat as soon as you get into the meeting. So the winner gets to choose from Walmart, Amazon, or Starbucks gift cards. And Shannon has found an online thing where she could drop your names in and it's going to do some kind of a draw. So are y'all ready for this? We need a drum roll. And the winner is?
The winner is Edwin Johnson of Salvation Army.
Woohoo! Congratulations, Edwin. We're excited that you won our first drawing.
Is he still on here? I don't see him. Let me see.
Okay. We will get in touch with her if she's not still on here.
Oh, there he is. I see him. He's waving his hands up. All right.
Oh, yay! Oh, he's sitting
Edwin.
at the beach. That's why we missed him. We thought he was on vacation. Woohoo! Congratulations, Edwin. If you will be sure and private message me your contact information, then I'll get in touch with you and we'll figure out how to get those gift cards to you, okay? All right, awesome. Thank you very much. So just so you know, we will be having this drawing every month for those in attendance. So you want to make sure that you're attending. If you're interested in the drawings, you need to make sure you're attending the meeting and that you are signing in, because if you don't sign in, your name doesn't go into the drawing. Okay, it is 12 o'clock. We thank you very much for your time and attention today and for attending the meetings. Y'all have a good one, and we will see you next month.